heart of where innovation, money, and power collide in Silicon Valley and beyond. This is Bloomberg Technology with Caroline Hyde and Ed Ludlow.
Bloomberg's World Headquarters in New York.
And right next to her, I'm Ed Ludlow. This is Bloomberg Technology.
Coming up, full coverage ahead of the state of artificial intelligence as we sit down with OpenAI COO Brad Lightcap. You do not want to miss it.
Plus, we'll take a deep dive into Apple's robot ambitions as the company eyes the next big thing after scrapping its car ambitions. Details to come.
And Paramount, it inches closer to a deal to merge with David Ellison's Skydance Media. We'll bring you the latest and so much more throughout this hour. But first, let's just check in on these markets. Because, Ed, we're powering higher. We're at almost record highs. We are back on a risk-on tone. Nasdaq up 0.8%. We see a slight dialing back, a slight cooling in the jobs market with the jobless claims today. But most importantly, you see Jay Powell signaling that they will still stand by rate cuts if we do see this inflationary pressure go back down to a 2% level. 10-year yield reacts on the back of that. We're at 4.34, let's call it. We're flat on the day, having been ramping up higher on the yield basis for the last couple of days. Copper actually up 0.9%. I shine a light on what's happening with the commodities because maybe this is the concern when it comes to inflationary pressures. We've seen oil at near 5-month highs, copper powering higher, and indeed gold at record highs too. Let's move on and have a little look at what's happening in the world of crypto because, well, we're actually managing to see a risk-on fair there, up more than 3%. 67,000 is where we trade. But what have you got on the micro edge?
There's a lot of news to get through. Apple will do later in the show. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman reporting that the next big thing is indeed a robot that follows you around the house. That stock up 0.9%. A lot of stories about Alphabet, parent of Google. Reuters reporting that they have engaged their advisors to look at HubSpot, which I think is interesting. It's like a budget Salesforce, respectfully. The other story
That's
from
not
the
respectful.
The other story from the FT.
Small business.
It's a small business version of CRM. The other story being that the FT saying engineers are working on a premium subscription version of AI-powered search. Executives aren't quite ready to roll that out yet, but the stock's down a percentage point. I think there's a lot of questions about how that relates to the ad business. Meta's getting an upgrade, and Nvidia's up at 0.9%. I would note that things are looking better in Taiwan from TSMC's perspective, and there might be some read-through from that, but those are kind of the single names we're watching.
We're going to be keeping a close eye on some of the single names. We're also going to be going more broadly as to what the space is like in the chip sector and ultimately where we are in this AI hype or reality cycle, how you can still be committing money towards it. So pleased to welcome into the show Melissa Otto, head of TMT research at Visible Alpha. And well, give us your research deep dive at the moment, Melissa, because are you feeling in this environment with benchmarks near record highs, with another 70% added to Nvidia over the course of this year alone, that this is still a buy, that the earnings still show growth potential?
First of all, thank you so much for having me on. It's so great to be here and talk about technology with the two of you. It's a real privilege. I mean, Nvidia, the story of the past 12 months, no doubt. I mean, based on Visible Alpha consensus, we've seen our upward revisions from last January come up over $200 billion. So we're at an interesting inflection point. Are we going to see earnings estimates be revised up yet another $200 billion? You know, when I look at previous cycles where we have new products like the iPhone or the internet, you know, and a totally new type of cycle coming into the mix, how big could it be? You know, I think in the beginning of those types of cycles, we can be cautious, conservative. Then looking back 5 years, looking back on those, it's like, whoa, I thought my numbers were crazy, but actually they were pretty conservative. You know, I think these are the questions that investors are asking themselves right now, and that's what we're watching in our data.
They get asked the questions on a more than daily basis. The news flow around AI for every company at every layer of the AI stack is astonishing. Google is the example this morning, right? And the reporting is that they're looking at search and thinking, do we charge a premium AI-powered search on a subscription basis? How much of a domain do you find search to be in this wild AI story?
Google has owned the search space for as long as I can remember. They dominate, they generate incredible revenues from that. It's been probably the story of the past 15 years in terms of what their growth has been like. What will be really compelling will be to see what Microsoft does with their search. Are they going to start to nip at some of that market share? Are they going to start to integrate AI in a way that isn't charging a fee? I mean, what's the business model there? Why would users pay a fee for AI when there's other options out there? And I think, there was an upgrade yesterday with Dolly, and, the market came out and showed, the capabilities of OpenAI are just remarkable.
Yeah.
I'm excited to stick around and listen to the OpenAI interview. I mean, it's incredible what they're doing.
Well, what is it you'd want to learn about OpenAI when you're listening to the interview?
Oh, I mean, I would love to hear what they're doing, what their new upgrades are about, where they see it going next, what dynamics.
Enterprise or consumer? Where are you more focused?
Both. I mean, it's all about, right now, I think the foundation of AI has been all about, it's essentially been funded by cloud service providers.
Yeah.
And taking it from cloud service providers, getting it into enterprises, and really not only generating productivity and efficiency gains, making organizations more intelligent, but also finding new business models,
Yes.
new ways of thinking about the world. I mean, this is what the iPhone did so remarkably well. Can AI do the same thing? This is what we're all waiting for. What new apps are going to come out? What's going to change our lives?
And it feels as though it's a lot of organic growth that you're focusing on. And it's interesting that we come off this day of a report in Reuters that maybe a bit of inorganic growth could still be done in this regulatory environment if the reports are true that Alphabet is eyeing HubSpot, for example. Do you think that sort of a deal can get done? Are you expecting any more consolidation of such large players?
It's a tough one. It's really difficult to answer and to address questions on deals. I mean, it's such a dynamic market. It's a good market right now, probably for M&A.
For acqui-hires, more likely that we seem to be happening with Microsoft rather than actually doing deals?
It'll be interesting. Yeah, I think I would just pivot on that and say, I think we really need to look at the dynamics in the market, see where the trends are going to lead us, and where users are actually going to drive revenues. And if that's going to be the case, then, who knows what could be on the horizon.
Later today, Caroline and I will be upstairs at Bloomberg Intelligence's AI Summit, our research arm. And when I think about generative AI, I always feel like we covered it in reverse. We went straight to the consumer-facing chatbot and not really how we got there along the way until GTC, when Jensen Huang walks into the middle of the showroom floor and praises Michael Dell and says, if you need a server, go to this guy.
Yeah.
What did you make of that? Because Dell's a name you hold, right?
I mean, this was new. This was absolutely new. I mean, he kind of called out and he's like, who else could make better end-to-end solutions for enterprises at a large scale than Mike Dell? And you could almost feel everybody go, oh, wow. And I thought that was really interesting because that's the next big leg that needs to come into AI, is for there to be real strategic thought into how organizations, enterprises are going to really embrace generative AI and what it's going to actually do for this is very transformative. It's not like you just flick a light switch and there's an app and suddenly you have generative AI. I mean, a lot needs to happen in an organization. They need to de-silo their data. They need to train it. It needs to be in the cloud. There needs to be analytics around it. There's so much that actually needs to happen. And it'll be fascinating to see, what role companies like Dell play in this arena.
And now we're talking about infrastructure and supply chain. Melissa Otto, head of TMT research at Visible Alpha, thank you. Meanwhile, I want to bring an update to our audience on what's happening in Taiwan, following the largest earthquake there in 25 years. While the full extent of the damage from the latest quake isn't known, the latest figures are 10 people have died and more than 1,000 have been injured. Companies have also provided updates on employee safety in their operations. Taiwan Semiconductor resumed production less than 24 hours after evacuating staff and halting operations. The company said there has been no damage to its most critical chip-making equipment. It expects full operations at its main plant to be fully recovered by later today. Some of the island's tech firms are still assessing the damage from the earthquake, which leveled dozens of buildings on its eastern side. We will continue to monitor for the latest headlines and bring them to you as they cross the Bloomberg. Karen.
More coming up. Now we're returning our attention to Disney. It was an extensive proxy battle. Bob Iger has defeated, from a board perspective, the billionaire activist investor Nelson Peltz. But actually, who's won out here? We discuss. This is Bloomberg Technology. votes. They're in months of spending millions to win over investors, both retail and institutional. But the battling opponents in the press has now become a reality that Bob Iger has emerged victorious in the proxy battle with Nelson Peltz from Trian more broadly. We want to bring in Crystal C for more, because ultimately, with a 30%, let's call it, rally in Disney shares over the course of this year, many would say Nelson Peltz has ended up winning out no matter what financially. But has this changed the tone of Disney going forward?
So actually, Peltz has said in some interview that he's rather be rich than right, and I think he's somewhat achieved that goal. Like you said, the stock's up 30%. And he first came to the stock in 2023. This is actually his second go around with Disney. So the couple of things that he's pushing for at Disney is going to become the things to watch. And some of the things our Iger had personally expressed kind of shared sentiment of. For one thing is succession. Who is going to succeed Iger? And that had come up again and again. And the other thing is streaming and how they achieve profitability when it comes to streaming and achieve Netflix-like profitability. That's also come up.
Right.
So those are the things that investors are going to watch from now on.
The pressure is on Iger still because he promised the profitability by the end of 2024. And when you have a proxy battle, it's a battle, and often in the media where you go out and say, oh, well, I'm doing this and everything's great. The pressure's also on Iger because one of his, what do you call it, adversary? Elon Musk is still talking about this on social media, and it's an interesting dynamic.
That's right. So Elon, I think it's someone Peltz has called a personal friend, and he obviously thinks very highly of Elon. Elon even tweeted that he thinks Peltz should be on the Disney board. And interestingly, with so much retail influence, he actually tweeted after the retail voting deadline was closed. So I actually don't think it achieved very much when it comes to like polling votes for Peltz. But Elon's definitely interested in the situation. And whether he's going to go against Iger, we don't see that. I don't think there is any particular beef between the two men, but definitely an interesting dynamic with all the very high-profile executives, billionaires, just all around the same situation.
Yeah, it's interesting, but at the end of the day, sources told us, 94% of the vote went to Iger's re-election, and Disney got all their nominees in. Bloomberg's Crystal Z, terrific reporting all week long. Thank you. Now, coming up on the show, we're going to bring you the latest in fundraising news. We'll be joined by Eleanor Crespo, co-CEO of business planning platform Pigment, and the CEO of SEAI, a chip startup that wants to make the AI in cars and robots go faster. More on all that next. This is Bloomberg Technology.
Pigment, a business planning platform used by companies like Klarna, Figma, Poshmark, but it's raised another $145 million. This is its Series D funding round. It was led by Iconic Growth, but other investors like Felix Capital still on board with it. And it's just 10 months after the latest financing. Pleased to welcome Pigment co-founder and co-CEO Eleanor Crespo joining us now. And you have some big VC names behind you. You have more money raised. And the first question is always, what do you do with it? Where are you deploying the money?
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show. So I think it's very simple. We have been very lucky, actually, to do this fundraising. We didn't need that money. We had an amazing traction last year that led to that fundraising. We did 3x in our revenue, and we managed to sign amazing customers. What we'll do is very simple. It's the freedom to innovate. We launched about 100 product innovation last year with Pigment, and we plan to keep innovating very, very fast. With AI, of course, I think we'll discuss AI, but with many other things that will make Pigment successful in the future.
Okay, so let's talk about that innovation and freedom to do so. Product innovation has been bringing basically generative AI to make your product easier to use. People are using it across different parts of their businesses. How is generative AI helping with strategic planning so much more?
Yeah, so generative AI actually has an amazing application at Pigment. I think, an application like Pigment, back office application like Pigment, use generative AI in general to democratize the access to data. At the end of the day, our customers, what they want is to give access to data to as many decision makers as possible in a company. With the revolution of generative AI, it is actually be made possible because you can ask any question in natural language. To give you an example, our customers today with Pigment can ask questions such as, what was my P&L last year in the US? Give me my gross number in natural language. And this is a phenomenal revolution for companies.
Eleanor, it's Ed in New York. You talked about 3xing revenue. And I think that last time you were on the show in June of last year, you also said that when you raised the funds, you didn't really need them. So talk to me what's changed over the last 9 months or so and what the company's been up to.
Yeah, well, I think it's the exact same story here. It's actually a round from our internal investors. We had a lot of interest in the past 2 months from external investors. Given that we managed actually to go up market, we signed incredible customers, Fortune 500 customers in the likes of Unilever, Merck. We signed customers in the likes of Datadog, Kayak, Sense in the tech industry. And I think, at the end of the day, what is always very important for us is to have the freedom to execute. And Iconic actually decided to double down alongside IVP, Meritech, and Green Oaks to actually tell us, look, we're here and we will let you innovate and double down in the US and in Europe at the pace that we need to go at.
The pace, because you're expanding geographically, you were entering North America, and now you say most of your company's revenue is coming from this region. Where are the pain points, Eleanor? Is it the talent that you need to onboard to be able to ensure that you're basically meeting clients where they're at?
So I think for us, one of the area of expansion is definitely keep being the US. 50% of our revenue today comes from the US, and this is our #1 market. So for us, the big challenge is to keep doubling down, keep signing Fortune 500 companies. And as I said, probably the most important is to build this product that satisfies this customer base. And this is where we are going to spend most of our time and effort in the next few years to create this incredible platform. One of the other challenges for us is that we are creating this multi-product platform because it's a platform that can serve any team in a company. The challenge is to serve any decision maker, from sales to supply chain to finance to HR. This is what we're building.
Pigment co-founder, co-CEO Eleanor Crespo. Great to have you back on the show. Thank you so much. There is other funding news. Chip startup SEAI just raised $70 million in a new round led by Maverick Capital. The goal, to develop chips designed to speed up AI applications within everyday consumer devices, from cameras to cars. Here for more is the SEAI CEO, Krishna Rangasai. Krishna, same question that Caro led with. What do you use that money for?
We are building upon the momentum we have in our Gen 1 product. And as you talked about, our Gen 1 product focuses on computer vision, solving problems in robotics, automotive, medical, and smart vision systems. We are extending that platform now into moving into generative AI applications. And we are now going to be using the capital to accelerate the development for generative AI.
Krishna, let's talk about the technology then. Are we talking SoC or system on chip technology, or is this basically a data center chip that's more targeted at training neural networks?
No, we are focused on a different market space. The cloud and the consumer experience in AI has been well built out. We are focused on the edge market. We are focused on things that touches the physical world, robotics, industrial automation, automotive, and applications that really day-to-day affect our lives. And that's really the focus for us. And we are also not in the training business. We are in the inference business, where effectively people can deploy applications on our chips directly.
That's exactly where I want to go next. It's an interesting choice. AMD did something similar with their AI accelerator, right? They came out with the MI300 generation and said, we're mostly focused on inference because that's where the world is now. The training has been done. So what kinds of companies are you seeking to partner with that have already done the training?
Right. So this is almost every massive edge AI company. And so you could take the top 5 leaders in robotics, industrial automation, or in automotive, or in the medical market. We are engaged with the top 5 customers in these market segments globally. And we are scaling. Today, we are engaged with 50 customers. And in the next few years, we'll be increasing our reach to 1,000+ customers.
When it comes to your fundraise, you're saying this is about scaling too, and we heard similar from Pigment. Is it that you need to spend more on talent? Is it that you need to spend more on infrastructure? Where are some of the amounts that you need to be doubling down in from a cost perspective?
All of the above.
Yeah.
And so I think no doubt's talent, and R&D talent in AI is really something we have to aggressively keep up with. I mean, the technology is changing at such a fast pace. We really need to scale and make sure that we are leading the pack, if you will, right? So that's one area for investment. The second one is go to market. And AI adoption is really still nascent in the edge market. I mean, the cloud and the consumer market has really adopted it quite well. The edge market is going to be the next gold rush for AI, and this is going to take over the next 10 years. And reaching these customers, and unlike the cloud and the consumer market, we are reaching tens of thousands of customers. And so reaching them, enabling the technology, and making it really, really easy to use is really where we're going to deploy the capital.
I just want to have you paint the picture of what, therefore, I'm going to be able to do through the power of your technology in 10 years' time that I just can't do now.
Every single thing we touch in our life will have AI. And much like we interact with human beings, we'd be able to interact in context of visuals, touch, feel, and really be able to really interact with technology in such a way that we have never imagined before. And today, systems are unimodal in that you either do computer vision, or you do audio, or you do text. You're going to see merged platforms, and which is a new trend called multimodal generative AI, where you're going to now be able to do everything you do with a human being, but now with every appliance that's going to be around you.
Krishna, have you phoned Tesla to pitch your technology for the Optimus program?
So we are reaching out to very many customers. And we are leading the industry in what we are doing today in three vectors. We are leading the technology roadmap in the performance we offer on our AI ML platform. We're also leading in terms of power efficiency, which is another really critical problem at the edge. And the third one is ease of use, and this is what we need to do to increase the breadth of what we do. So we're engaged with a lot of customers today, and like I said, I think today 50. But we really have very big ambitions for the company, and one day we want to be the de facto leader servicing 10,000 plus customers globally.
70 million is going to be going a long way for that. SEAI CEO Krishna Vaganasi. It's great to have some time with you. Thank you for coming in today. Meanwhile, coming up, look, Apple exploring a push into personal robotics. Maybe there's the edge application that we'll be seeing it in. We'll have more details on that in a moment. What have you got, Ed?
Yeah, SK Hynix, interesting name, investing $3.9 billion in a US semiconductor facility, 430,000 square feet in Indiana. There's also overnight some feel good on the Korean shares because there are signs that they've weathered the situation in Taiwan where they have some exposure. From New York City, this is Bloomberg Technology.
Welcome back to Bloomberg Technology. I'm Caroline Hyde.
And I'm Ed Ludlow. Let's check on the markets very quickly. It's been a bit of a wonky week, especially when it comes to the NASDAQ 100. We're up 0.7% in today's session, near the session lows. It's been an eco data week. The latest eco data this morning being jobless claims, matching kind of cuts we've seen in jobs. And so we put our focus on Friday when we get jobs report data. What happens with the Fed is the question, and then you look at the tech names that we care about and say, how sensitive to rates are they? When will the Fed start cutting rates? This is a conversation that Caroline, you and I have been having for many years now. We know what it's about. One of the names that has a big balance sheet, might be less sensitive to rates, is Apple. Apple, interesting, up a full percentage point in the session. It too has had some interesting moves, tick by tick, over the last 2 sessions or so. One report from Bloomberg is that Apple's next big thing is a robot that follows you around the house. Here with the scoop, who else? Bloomberg's Mark Gurman. This was an interesting one. There is technology parallels for this latest initiative out of Project Titan, but just explain what we're talking about here, a robot that follows you around the house.
Hey, Ed, yes, thank you so much for having me. You're absolutely right. If you think about it, a self-driving car essentially is a robot, but the big difference between a self-driving car that roams around city streets and one that roams around your house is the liability, and it's the safety. If the self-driving car stops working properly on the road, maybe you get into a car accident and potentially kill someone, unfortunately. If your self-driving robot crashes into a wall in your home, kind of, so what, right? And so it's similar technology, but the stakes are so much lower. The necessity to be accurate is so much lower. It is an easier thing to pull off. And it feels like the timing is right for Apple to be exploring this. If you think about the backdrop of when the Apple Car project was canceled, the newfound struggles being faced by Tesla, the profitability issues being faced by Lucid and Rivian and any EV maker you can think of. And then at the same time, you're sort of seeing the technology industry shift to AI-powered hardware. You're seeing talk about humanoid robots. So it does make sense for Apple to be exploring at least this shift.
Although iRobot hasn't exactly had a wondrous time post its unfolding of an Amazon acquisition. Mark, I'm interested as to where this gets built within Apple, because they've been saying they're moving around a lot of the ultimate talent to go into an AI area and generative AI, but who builds this within Apple?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So the artificial intelligence organization at Apple under John Giannandrea, he used to run search and was a senior executive at Google before joining Apple in 2018. Some of the underlying AI and robotics work is going on within his organization. And then Apple has a hardware engineering group dedicated to home devices that's run by a guy named Matt Costello, who was actually the chief operating officer at Beats until that company was famously acquired by Apple a decade ago. And so this is a cross-company effort between those two groups primarily. Now, the other thing I want to call out, in addition to the home robot, Apple is very in-depthly exploring the addition of robotics to other types of devices. So one thing that they've been working on actually secretly for about 4 years at this point, is a tabletop robot. It's essentially a gigantic iPad on a robotic arm. And it's actually pretty cool. So you could be on a FaceTime call and the display, thanks to the robotic arm, would move to mimic the head movements, like a nod or your head turning or a laugh or whatnot going on the other side of the FaceTime call. So it feels a bit more like a telepresence environment. So certainly robotics, I believe wholeheartedly, this is a new big area for Apple moving forward. They're starting to throw a little resources at it, and I think that's going to grow exponentially over the next several years. One thing to note is, although hundreds and hundreds of people were laid off from the Apple Car project and no longer have a job at Apple, at least a few teams from that car project were actually repurposed for some of this AI and robotics work. So clearly an intense area of focus right now, albeit extraordinarily early in the product development process.
When you believe something wholeheartedly, Mark, the world believes something wholeheartedly. We thank you very much indeed, Mark Gurman, of course, our key Apple correspondent. Coming up, we're going to have a deep dive for you. COO of OpenAI, Brad Lightcap, joining us for a discussion wide-ranging the state of enterprise AI adoption as well as consumer AI adoption. And of course, some of the areas of focus for them, legal on one side, but also opportunities on the next. This is Bloomberg Technology.
For our Bloomberg television and radio audiences worldwide, OpenAI is top of mind across the world of technology. That includes for Elon Musk, who posted on X overnight that his EV company Tesla is having to boost compensation to ward off approaches for its AI talent. Those approaches, claims Musk, include OpenAI. Ethan Knight, a member of Tesla's team working on computer vision for FSD, was approached by OpenAI, so Musk moved him to his own AI company, XAI. Let's get to the OpenAI side of the story. Let's talk about talent. Let's talk about what's happening in the world of artificial intelligence. Brad Lightcap, OpenAI COO, joins us here in New York City. There's no accusation that anything wrong was done, but it highlights an interesting point right now. There is a lot being done on the training of prior generation models, future generation models. There is a finite amount of talent. Give the OpenAI side of this equation. How much of a premium are you having to pay out? I don't know if it's salary or stock or engineering freedom to get the top names.
Well, thank you, Ed and Caroline, for having me. It's great to be with you. You know, look, this is a competitive market for sure. It's an amazing place that we're at because there's very few number of people that can really make such a dramatic impact in this field. But we try and pull people into our mission, and I think that's historically what's been our strength is people want to build in the place where we're pushing the frontier the furthest, and also where we really think about the impact of the technology, both on a societal level and then also on an applied and industry level.
How big is OpenAI now? How many employees and where are they?
We're about 1,200 people.
1,200?
Yes, mostly in San Francisco, but also in London and Dublin, and increasingly other places in the world.
Increasingly other places in the world. The reporting was that Japan is the next frontier for you. What's the strategy there and where you choose? I don't know whether you call it opening a new market, but where you choose to have operations.
Well, we're very fortunate. We have a very global base of demand. So we want to show up where our customers are. We think this is going to be a global transformation. We feel a lot of pull from places like Japan and Asia broadly. And so we'll show up where we feel like we need to be.
And let's talk about where you show up from an industry perspective. You're here in New York talking to partners. We understand Sam and the teams have been in Hollywood discussing how Sora can be used, but ultimately how you can have a working relationship with companies and industries that think they're going to be upended. Talk to us about how those conversations are going, for example, with Hollywood and publications.
Yeah. You know, we take a very unique perspective here. We really model OpenAI as a partnerships company, and we think this transformation is going to be very broad-based. And so we're one company. We can't do everything ourselves. Being able to find ways to partner with industry, with countries, with specific companies, that's really important to our mission and the way that we think about bringing technology to the world. By way of recent example, we work really closely actually with the publishing industry right now on ways that we can deploy AI into publishing to make the quality of journalism better, to make the quality of reader experiences better. We've heard nothing but really actually a lot of enthusiasm from that industry. And so we're always looking at ways that we can partner with industry. I expect a lot more from us in the future on this front. And Sora is a great example of where we really are excited about the impact that we can make in media.
It's interesting that media companies over in Europe, for example, seem to have got with that quite quickly. Axel Springer, a key deal that you sort of birthed early days, and Axel Springer therefore seems to Business Insider perhaps a little bit more blue links within ChatGPT. New York Times ain't on that discussion point right now. How is that legal fight and indeed behind the scenes discussion going with those sorts of companies?
Well, I can't comment on the New York Times case specifically, other than to say we think it's without merit. But the overwhelming majority of what we hear from the publishing industry is actually quite positive. There's a high level of excitement everywhere about what these tools can do, both to unlock better journalism, to give readers more access to information, to enhance the way that people engage with content. So the way that we actually think about even the fundamental business of information engagement and consumption. These things are all really possible now with language models. And increasingly with multimodal models too. So we think we're just starting to scratch the surface on that opportunity. We've got a lot more to share there soon, but stay tuned.
You're being positive, being optimistic, of course you are. What's interesting is I come away from meetings where Hollywood is deeply anxious. People in my industry are deeply anxious. Goodness, everyone with a job is trying to work out how they adopt AI. And also there's this question that is ongoing of open versus closed. You're going for another legal fight at the moment. Elon Musk has dragged you into it and wants you to rename yourself. Where do you sit on the closed versus open? How much more open do you have to become?
Yeah, well, look, I think we really focus just on where we can deploy the technology and what's the best way to do that. And at the end of the day, we're going to focus on where our customers are and the way that they want to deploy it. We work with thousands of enterprises across the world. We spend a lot of time working with those enterprises on ways that we can configure the technology specific to their use case, specific to their stack. And we think that the easiest way to do that is the way that we serve it. But that's not to say that we wouldn't look at other ways in the future. We really ultimately want to be where we think the best place to deploy the technology is going to be.
For our Bloomberg television and radio audience worldwide, we're in New York City speaking to OpenAI COO Brad Lightcap. I want to learn more about where OpenAI sits in its growth, its day-to-day operations. You just said thousands of enterprises. We came to know you because of the explosive response to ChatGPT, and that was principally in the context of a consumer-facing chatbot. But it sounds very much like growth now is focused on that enterprise arrangement, licensing of technology. Can you give me proportions, the rate of growth for those two pillars?
Well, we've seen tremendous growth in the enterprise. 24 is going to be the year of adoption for AI in the enterprise. We felt really like 23 was the year that people just started to wrap their head around what was possible with AI in the enterprise. But increasingly, the market is pulling us toward real applications that are delivering real business results and a very broad focus on AI enablement. So how do we think about bringing AI both to our operations, but also to our workforces, and then also to new product experiences that we can deliver to customers? And we work with plenty of companies that are doing all three of those things at the same time. We think that's very possible. And it's having really dramatic bottom line impact today. So this is what we think the pull is going to be, and we're ready to support.
Brad, you're the COO, so I'm assuming you're responsible for also some of the purse strings involved in OpenAI's finances. Compute must be a really considerable cost right now. And with that, the energy consideration as well. Are you making enough revenue from this enterprise business to keep the lights on when you factor in the compute costs involved?
We are, yes. We think that we have, well, first of all, a very diversified business. And so we serve hundreds of millions of users with our ChatGPT product. And many of those users are paying users. Of course, we serve now over 600,000 individual users in the enterprise with ChatGPT Enterprise. And so we're just seeing tremendous momentum. We're very early innings on this. And so we look at it as, hey, this is the start of something. And ultimately, our priority is just to be able to deliver the best intelligence, whether it's in the enterprise or to individuals. That's the most useful, that drives the biggest business impact.
Kara, I'm thinking back to the conversation we had the other day with Danielle Amadei from Anthropic. And what she explained, Brad, was the relationship with AWS and Bedrock. They're getting a lot of business through that. You have a quite similar and actually a pre-existing situation with Microsoft and Azure. Are you able to explain how much new business comes through that conduit of the Microsoft relationship and what were probably existing Azure enterprise customers?
We're really fortunate to have Microsoft as a partner. They've been an amazing partner with us for a long time. We've increasingly looked at the world as ways that we can bring OpenAI technology to life together. We're very fortunate that they're offering our models through their Azure OpenAI service, but we have an independent business, so we serve customers independently of Microsoft. And
is that one bigger than the Microsoft avenue?
Yeah, look, it's fluid between the two, but we really are focused on what's best for the companies we work with, and we're very fortunate to be able to diversify the surfaces in which we offer our products. We think the demand for this technology is massive, and so being a smaller company, obviously, having a partner that can help bring the technology to scale is really, really advantageous for us.
Yeah.
And we're excited to support them in the future.
It's an extraordinary, very novel kind of partnership. And in fact, the whole of AI is birthing these kind of frenemy relationships.
Frenemy.
I just think of also acqui-hires, deals that seem to be going. Now, Microsoft has just seemingly acqui-hired the whole of Inflection. What did you make of that particular move, particularly when suddenly you got the co-founder of DeepMind coming in to be the head of consumer AI at Microsoft, and ultimately you put out a response to that, being like, congratulations. But how did that make you feel as the previous partner of choice for Microsoft?
Well, we're excited for them. We congratulate Mustafa and Karen and the whole team, and we work very closely with Microsoft, and so we think that's going to be a major advantage for our partnership as well. We're focused on what we can control on the OpenAI side, which for us right now is really thinking about the next wave of the technology and thinking about ways that wave is going to start to enable businesses. And the more we can think about that problem together, the better we'll all be.
A lot of CEOs that I speak to, some of them are your customers, say they're technology agnostic right now. In other words, they might use GPT or another foundation model. They might also be building their own in parallel. And when we told our audience you were coming on the show, a lot of people wanted to get your thoughts on the Palantir relationship. It's an interesting case study. They seem to be one of the beneficiaries of the enterprise investment in AI, or at least the data analytics side. What's it like working with Alex Karp?
Yeah, well, we actually work with a bunch of partners that help us bring the technology to life, and there's so many ways to deploy the technology in the enterprise. That's what's kind of amazing about this technology is it's not just one function in the enterprise or one part of the enterprise stack. It's so diverse and it's so broad-based, and so we work with many partners to bring that to life, and we'll continue to look for partners to work with to help us do that. Yeah, no, look, we're excited with the way Palantir has been enabling their customers on top of our technology, and we'll continue to support them going forward.
Brad, every day it crosses my desk. You know that I've done quite a lot of reporting on Sam's chip ambitions as well. There's some relationship going on between the UAE and OpenAI, fundraising or technology partnerships. Can you clarify what's going on there and why you'd need to raise funds from somewhere like that?
Yeah, well, look, I won't comment specifically on that. We broadly, though, believe that there's just not enough total supply in the world, and that
of AI accelerators specifically?
Of AI accelerators, and broadly that the supply chain will need to adapt to what we think is going to be this highly inflected and nearly exponential demand in the next 10 years. And so we spend a lot of time thinking about ways that we can make sure that that demand is met. Part of it is just being able to bring our models to bear, but upstream of that is obviously making sure that the actual underlying hardware and infrastructure exists to be able to build the systems that we need to ultimately serve that demand. And so, we think a lot about it, and our hope there is that the supply chain starts to think about that the same way we do.
Brad, your mantra, your manifesto, your focus is to build artificial general intelligence for the good of humanity. And I speak to a lot of humans who are terrified. Can you encapsulate how you can, without regulation being there in place yet, and the EU's sort of putting the gauntlet out there, you're doing all of this without disrupting too much, too quickly, too hard?
Yeah, well, look, central to our mission is to make sure that we bring the technology in a way that's safe and that creates broad benefit. It's really encoded into how OpenAI was structured, and it is actually the thing that we spend our time thinking about how to deliver in real-world results today. And so we're very optimistic, and I can understand where the fear comes from. Things are moving very fast. Even for us at the center of it, it sometimes is dizzying. But look, our perspective is that this is an enabling technology at its core. It's going to make businesses more efficient. It can make people more productive. It can be dramatically inflecting in how people learn, how people can understand information. And so we think that that has a very broadly positive effect on the world. And the world that we wake up to 10 years from now will be one that we look back on, and really are excited to be able to go build today. And that's really what we wake up every day and want to go do. So.
We want to thank you being in the house with us, the COO of OpenAI, Brad Lightcap there, joining us in New York. We thank him. Now coming up, Paramount getting closer to a deal that would result in a merger with independent producer David Ellison's Skydance. We have so much more on that details next. This is Bloomberg Technology. Paramount is getting closer to a deal to merge with Skydance. It's a production company founded by independent producer David Ellison, of course, son of Larry. Sherry Redstone is controlling shareholder of Paramount and has reached a tentative agreement to sell her stake to Skydance. Now, both parties have even agreed on the broad framework of a deal to combine, and will use a 30-day window of exclusive talks to iron out the details. All of this, according to sources. Ed, what's so interesting is when you deep dive on the market reaction, positive. Analysts are saying there are more questions than answers right now.
And I am more confused about the future of Paramount than and I know that's a cop-out, but that is literally what Bloomberg Intelligence writes, raises more questions than answers. One of the concerns is this deal was done between voting right shareholders. What about all the non-voting right shareholders? It's very complicated.
Where's their value in a merged entity? But what this does do is remain Paramount as a whole, and ultimately also see it as a publicly traded company, rather than being split up, as Apollo was potentially suggesting, and just taking bits of the assets.
Keeping the library, that's right.
But real deals, real offers on the table, that's a key takeaway. Meanwhile, that does it for this edition of Bloomberg Technology. Boy,
that was quite a conversation with OpenAI. Check it out. Recap on the podcast, Apple, Spotify, the Bloomberg platforms. This is Bloomberg Technology.